I remember my senior year of college, and I had made a decision to not go into accounting, which is the path that I was on for many, many years. But I had no idea what to do instead of that. And there was a 6 month period, plus or minus, where I was literally like the ugly duckling. Like I was hatched. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what to do. And my version of trying to figure that out at that time was to go to as many corporate company tours and information sessions as I could possibly find. And almost every day around lunchtime at the university I was going to, they had something like that. They had a different company come in to give a presentation, to do some recruiting on campus. I went to dozens of them. And every single time, if I'm honest, the only thing that I was trying to figure out when I was sitting there listening to their company and the jobs and the perks and the career path, I would just sit there, soak it up, and try to think to myself, does that sound cool or not? And underneath that, what we're going to dig into today is a broader question. It's this question: why do we do what we do? What informs our decision making? How do we make decisions about who we are, what to do, where to work, who to be with, how to spend our money, how to spend our time? And behind all that, obviously, are these deeper identity questions, which is what we're focusing on. And the question that we're looking at is this: why do we do what we do? And that's a difficult question. Why? Well, I don't know, because I felt like it, because I had no other options, because that's the way the wind was blowing that day. A more helpful question, and the reason for this episode in this video, much more helpful question, much more productive to help you make better decisions, have clarity, is this question: what do you stand for? And what we're going to look at is defining our fundamental values. Because why we do what we do is actually informed by a number of things. It starts with our experiences growing up and our memories and how those are stored and interpreted, oftentimes on a subconscious level before we even understand it. We might have go through something and hear an adult say something, and that just kind of sticks with you, and you're not sure why. You're not even aware that it happened. And those experiences and memories, then you go through another one, and it triggers feelings and emotions. And because you've been given an interpretive lens, most likely from your family and a mix of media and your friends, you have a certain kind of grid for what you think about. So why we do what we do, when it gets to actions and decisions and behavior, it actually flows from our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts and our beliefs, which come from our experiences and memories. And the interesting thing is, the process of growing up, and growing up well, is to actually categorize, integrate, and make sense of all of these things. And it's possible. You don't have to go through life like I did, a college senior, having no clue who you are, having no clue what to do with your life. But that's frankly the norm. That's how most people go through life. And then they make a decision based on how they feel, or they make a decision based on something that someone said that makes sense. Well, you got to get a job that pays well. And then we are stuck with the decisions that we make. So again, what's way more helpful, what's way more important is this: it's to define your fundamental values. And the first thing we're going to talk about is, what are they? What are your fundamental values? We think of a value-driven leader, a values-based organization. If you've worked for a big company, you've probably done some off-site group exercise where you define your corporate or your team values. You probably hear this if you walk through the cafeteria of your office. You maybe have seen this on your school campus before. We have values, we stand for loyalty, and there's these big words: honesty, integrity. We stand for creativity. But what do they mean? So to really get at your fundamental values, you have to understand what they are. And they are a mixture of these things: what you stand for, what's most important to you, what you're willing to sacrifice for or fight for, They often come, your fundamental values often come and are derived from something that you lacked when you were growing up. So somebody who lacked a safe, mature father figure might have a value, a fundamental value. I stand for supporting others, supporting kids who don't have father figures. Or I stand for putting family first because I did not get that when I was growing up. Or I stand for being really conservative with saving money because we didn't have that growing up, and we lived in insecurity. It could also come from something you received. That's many ways how values are passed on from one generation to the next. I was given family values. I was given a model and examples of integrity and honesty and hard work. And so I received that, and I'm going to pass that on. And it's a mindless, thoughtless, kind of subconscious thing that happens. But also fundamental values, this last one I think is maybe the most important. It's what you believe that everyone deserves. And if you can, we're going to walk through this, if you can understand that, if you can get some clarity about what you believe everyone deserves, everyone including yourself, everyone including your close family, your neighbors, your friends, you're going to be able to have a sense of clarity about what your values are and how to make better decisions. When you don't have fundamental values, or someone, and if you're working with a kid or you're a parent and they have not clarified their fundamental values, or for yourself, you'll have this experience where your priorities are constantly shifting. And what was important to you last week is maybe not as important as this week. Your feelings and your emotions, your state of mind can influence your values. So what's most important to me? Well, it's how I feel. And you could play that out to see how that might lead to some destructive choices or unhelpful, unproductive choices. You can also, if you don't have your own fundamental values, you can certainly be influenced by others, by their thoughts or maybe even their expectations of you. I'd say for most people, their experience of fundamental values comes from the sense of expectation that their parents have for them or their peers. And maybe not wrong when those are aspirational or good in nature. Nevertheless, you need to figure them out for yourself. When you lack clarity on what you stand for, your fundamental values, you're likely going to be confused or disoriented when it comes time to make big decisions. Education, career, geography, where you live, friends, romantic interests, money. When you don't know what you stand for, it is harder to make clear, confident choices. And you often, for people who don't know what they stand for, often will look back with regret, which is an uncomfortable, painful emotion. It's not good. So here's the sales pitch. If you do this process or lead somebody else's process, here's what they could have: clarity, confidence, conviction. They can make more effective, efficient decisions about these big life options. I remember a time when I was offered a job by somebody I wasn't interviewing for, just was given this opportunity to take a job. And in the conversation, I asked a few questions because my wife and I had just spent time thinking through our fundamental values. I asked a few questions and immediately turned it down. Thank you. I'm so honored, but no, it's not a good fit. A few hours later, I forgot about it, forgot that I even had the opportunity. And by the way, the opportunity was more money. It was much bigger platform and stage. For all intents and purposes, it made sense. It was a big honor. But a few hours later, I remember telling my wife on the phone, oh, I forgot to tell you, I got this job offer. And it was like, X amount of money. She's like, what? And I said, no, well, don't worry about it. I already turned it down. And she said, what do you mean you turned it down? I said, no. In the part of fundamental values that we had defined was that we believe our kids deserved me at home and close to home and not traveling. It's something that she had growing up. It's something that I lacked growing up. And together, we decided that that was going to be critically important for us as a family. So the question I asked when I was given the job opportunity was, how much time would you anticipate me on the road traveling? And the answer was not that much after the first year, but in the first year, 18 to 20 days out of town every month. And so that was immediately. I didn't even need to wonder or ask friends or mentors or ponder or make a pros and cons chart or pray about it. It just was an immediate. That goes against our fundamental values. So thanks, but no thanks. And out of that, finally, so of course, no regrets. I don't look back at that with any regret. And but nevertheless, I had the strength of purpose. I know why I turned it down, and I know why I was choosing to spend more time with my family, with my kids, coaching their teams, taking them to school, being the chaperone parent to field trips. I mean, that's so clear to me. So you can have a life with or without, and it is better with it. Now the process, how do you do it? How do you define your fundamental values? It's actually not that complicated. It's pretty simple, but you have to believe in the outcomes. It's going to be worth it, and then go through the process. And it takes time and energy. Specifically, it's questions on your own, or if you're leading someone else, to give them a series of questions and prompts, and give time and space to actually answer those questions and prompts. Now, here's some prompts. Here's a few that can get you started. And we'll have these in the show notes. And if you're a part of the curriculum for this, you can get much more of the content and curriculum. Finish the sentence. Everyone deserves blank because blank. That's one prompt. Another prompt would be, what's more important to me than most things is because. Another prompt question would be, what are you willing to sacrifice for or fight for, and why? And obviously you can just straight up ask the question, what do you stand for? And that'll give you clarity. Okay, you got the questions, you're thinking on your own. What's even more important and helpful is to then discuss them. Talk about your answers to those questions out loud. There's something about externalizing them through writing and talking that helps your brain actually organize and get clear. And not just discuss and share, but also to listen. To listen to your peers, your friends, people you respect, your mentors, but also to reflect and learn about other people's lives. I've spent a lot of time in my life reading biographies, watching documentaries, honestly, about people that I respect or think I respect and want to get to know more about how they think. People like the Abraham Lincolns, the Teddy Roosevelts, the Mother Teresas, and learning about their lives and why they do what they do and what's most important to them actually helps me fill in the gap of content and helps me define. And there's things that I read or listen to that deeply resonate with me. So the process is simple, but you have to decide that it's worth it. It's important. And to then go through the process by thinking and talking and listening, very, very simple. And the more you do that, the better. And finally, it's this. It's really important that you figure out what's most important to you, not your parents, not your friends, and not the culture at large. This is your life. Don't let anybody else write your story. What's most important to you? What do you stand for? What are your fundamental values? That's the question. You have now an opportunity to figure it out, and it's worth it.